In our last video, we did some pretty amazing things. We designed and built out our gameplay world. We also created our player that we could control and use to interact with that world. In this video, we're going to do some equally amazing things. We are going to introduce various game states or modes that our game can run in. If we think about it, when we start our game, we might want to have a start menu appear where the player is not able to move. So we would have a start state. When we actually start playing the game, we want to be able to move around and have all of our functionality. Maybe that's a play state. And eventually, there's going to be a way for us to lose the game, potentially die. And so we need a lose state. In each one of these states, certain parts of our game will be enabled or disabled depending on the state of the game. Our program needs a way to keep track of what state or mode it is in. And we need to be able to swap out our screens easily so that if we're in the start state, we can show a start menu. And if we are in the lose state, we can show a game over screen. Those screens or menus we'll refer to as overlays. So let's head to the computer screen and let's dive right into this lesson. First thing I'll have open here in vscode.dev is our lesson 2 starter file. And I'm going to minimize this window, and I'm going to go to my folder directly here, my Corefall folder, and I'm going to open up lesson 2's starter file directly to the screen. And so here's where we're starting. So I think this is pretty much the game we left off with. It's our lesson 1 that's completely finished. But what we want to do is we want to give our game the understanding of what state it is in. Have a start state, a play state, and a lose or game over state. So I'm going to head right back to our code here, and let's go look at our missions. Mission number 1, it says, add the game state value. So let's hit Control F or Command F here to search for that mission 1 tag. And that puts me, not surprisingly, right into the student edit zone. Things that I can edit to make our game not break. So we're going to create a variable here called game mode. And if you look, it's inside curly brackets. This is going to make it an object that has properties that we can reference later on in our program. If I scroll down just a little bit lower, you look, there's a player object defined with curly brackets, and it has 2 properties. It has an X property and a Y property, or essentially where the player lives on the screen. And so I can update the X and Y properties by simply moving the player with my keyboard. All right, so that's how we will define our objects. Let's set some properties to this game mode object. I'm going to create a property called start, and I'm going to give it a value of a string start. Okay, so all capital letters is the convention that I will use here. You can follow along. You could use lowercase if you want. Let's see. I'm going to have a mode called play, and its value will be a string called play. And then I'll have a lose, and its value will be a string lose. Now, we're only going to have 3 modes of operation here for our game, right? Start, play, and lose. But you could maybe think about how you could expand this out and have like a pause state, or maybe like an inventory state where you're opening like an inventory menu. All right, mission 1 done. Now that we have this variable to work with, we can switch between the variables state mode, start mode, play mode, and lose mode. On to mission number 2. Mission number 2 says we got to start off in the right mode. So it says starting the game mode. Set the current game mode to the title screen. Make the game begin in the correct state. All right, so let's think about what's happening here. We've got let current game mode equal null. All right, we gotta break this line down. Make sure we understand what's going on here. First, we're defining a variable, and we're not using const anymore. We're using let. This is because the variable that we are about to define will change its value as our program is running. The game mode, the current game mode, will change from start to play to lose, maybe back to play. So we need to define this variable, current game mode, with the correct value when the game starts. Right now, it is set to null. Null is just a way for us to say nothing. All right, we're creating this variable and we're not giving it a value. We definitely don't want that to happen. I want to give it some value. So when we start the game, I need to reference the object that we had just created called game mode. Remember, where did we do that? We did it right here. And our game mode object or game mode variable has three properties: as the start property, the play property, and the lose property. And we are going to use the start property to access its value, this string called start. So to do that, we'll do game mode dot, and we'll access the property start. Now, if you notice here, I just started typing ST, and then I get a whole list of all of these things, okay? Right here is start. If I have the right one highlighted, I can hit tab, and it will auto-complete it for me. So that's pretty great. This line right here, the variable current game mode, now has a value of the string start. Hey, this is really great because now I can check what its value is, and if its value is start, maybe I do something like show a start menu. Mission 2, in the books. Very good. Let's move to mission number 3. Ooh, mission number 3 is all about drawing a start overlay to the screen. All right, well, what exactly is an overlay? Okay, so if we come back over here and I refresh my page, the game mode is currently set to start, but nothing is indicating that the game has started, right? There's no start screen. So we're going to work on creating some overlays next. An overlay is a screen that you draw on top or over your game window. So we'll still have everything that exists here, but it will exist behind a screen that we're drawing on the top. All right, so that's why it's called an overlay, because it lays over a previous screen. And so let's look at this function called draw start overlay. What are we doing? Well, we're saying no stroke, which means give me a marker that has an invisible marker so you're not going to see my outline. And then we're calling fill. And so we're putting paint in our paint bucket with our overlay background color. And look at the overlay background color's value, 0.66. Remember, this is an RGBA or RGB alpha string. That means we want to make it transparent. And so we're going to talk a little bit about this here in a second, but the transparency of 0.66 means I'm going to be able to see behind it. And then we're creating a rectangle whose top left corner is 0, 0. So that's going to put it right here. Its width is the width of our canvas, and its height is the height of our canvas. So it's going to stretch it all the way out and all the way down. It's going to lay completely over my game window. But we're going to want to put some text in this overlay. In fact, if you look, there is some text already. We set the text size to be 18, and it says something like unstable core cells are flooding the chamber. Guide them into containment ports before the system fails. Press enter to begin. I like to call that flavor text because it adds a little bit of flavor to our game, right? Based on what our game is all about. Well, we need to add some title text, right? We want to draw the title over the game board. So before we do that, we actually got to set some other properties about our text, because right now I've got this paint in my paint bucket, which is my background color. I don't want my paint, my text to be that color. So I should put some new paint in my paint bucket. I'm going to pick a color called text color. If you notice right here, this is a hexadecimal string. When I don't need transparency, I typically use hexadecimal strings, and when I do need transparency, I'll use RGB alpha strings, just to be clear and distinct. Next, I'm going to align my text. How do I want the text to sit? Align. Well, in the horizontal direction, I'm going to make it center aligned, and in the vertical direction, I'll make it center aligned. All right, so the alignment is centered. And then I'm going to make the font size bigger. So I'll say text size, because this is going to be the title of my game. I'll make it 60. Now I just got to make some text. So I'll make a text object. And so I'm going to say, what do I want to say? I'll say danger, Corefall imminent. I like that flavor text. Put some pressure on the player. And then I got to give the X position of where I want this text to appear. So let's look at the X position of all of the other texts here. Width over 2, width over 2, width over 2. That will be, here's my width. Width divided by 2 puts me smack dab center in the screen horizontally. And that's really nice because my text alignment is centered horizontally. So it's going to put the center of the string. So where's the center of this string? Probably, I don't know, maybe like this E or this F. It's going to put the center of that string horizontally in the center of my canvas. So width over 2. Vertically, what am I going to do? Well, if you look here, I'm taking the height of my canvas and I'm multiplying by a decimal. So height times 0.55, height, the vertical height times 0.5 is going to put me smack dab in the middle vertically. So 0.55 pushes me a little lower. 0.66 pushes me lower. 0.44 would push me maybe here. This might be like 0.33, like a third of our height. So let's use that same system, and let's take the height of our canvas and multiply by 0.30. So this guarantees that these lines of text, because their heights are at increasing heights, will simply stack one on top of the other. Hey, our overlay for our starting screen is all set. But it doesn't look like we see anything yet. So there's got to be something else we have to do here in this lesson to actually visually see these. We've defined the data for the overlay, but we're not yet drawing the data for the overlay. So we're missing that piece of the puzzle. Maybe that's what's going to happen in mission number 4. It is not. Look at that. It's not, because you know what? We got another overlay we're going to have to draw. We are going to draw a second lose overlay. And so the overlay systems, they're kind of nice, right? You figure out how to do this, and then you just swap out the content that's going to sit over your screen depending on the game mode that you're in. Is your mode the start mode, or is it the lose mode? Well, you should draw the start overlay or the lose overlay. So our lose overlay, let's see what we're doing here. We're calling no stroke, so give me an invisible marker so you don't see my outline. We're putting some paint in our paint bucket. Hey, it's that transparent black that we were using before, so we're going to be able to see behind it. And then we're drawing a big rectangle whose top left corner is 0, 0. Its width is the width of our canvas. Its height is the height of the canvas. That rectangle will sit over my game window completely. And then I set my text color back to, or I put the paint color back to my text color. I'm center aligning. I'm setting the text size. And then I'm saying, hey, reactor failure, game over. We're positioning it width over 2, and our height is about a third of the way down. And then we lower our text size to be 18. Okay, so that's not bad. And our flavor text here says containment systems have been overwhelmed. That's a good thing to say to someone when they have just had a nuclear meltdown. That's maybe a little too nice. We're holding their hands a little bit here. All right, so what does mission 4 say? Well, we want to draw the restart instructions now. So we got to put some instructions for how the user can restart the game. So I'm going to do this with 2 lines of text. So I'm going to call the text function. It takes 3 pieces of information. The first is the string that I want to display. So I'm going to say press enter to restart. And then where do I want to put this horizontally? I'm going to put it smack dab in the middle of my game window. And this is going to work nice because we are center aligned in the horizontal direction. So the center of this string, maybe this like E and R, is where we are going to position it at the width of our canvas divided by 2. We're going to cut that width right in half. What's our vertical height going to be? Well, let's do height times, I don't know, we were at 0.44. Let's do 0.55. We'll just push it a little bit lower on the screen. And then let's do one more text. We'll have some restart, or like going back to the title screen. I'll say press R for title screen. And again, we're going to put it width divided by 2, and its height, we'll push it a little bit further down, 0.66. Let's do that. All right. Our lose overlay looks like it's complete. But of course, we're not seeing these yet, right? We still don't have our start overlay. We still don't have our lose overlay. We somehow have to draw those overlays. So let's look at what mission 5 is going to have us do next. I think mission 5 is where we can get excited. It says, show the correct overlay for the current game state. All right, let's hit the down button to go to this mission tag. This brings us to our draw scene function. Remember, our draw scene function, we are drawing everything in regards to our game. We're drawing our background, our goals, our player, our HUD. And now we're going to put some rules to see if we have to actually draw our overlays. Why is this running every frame of our game? Well, if I scroll up here, we got those nice P5 functions, the setup and the draw function, that get called automatically. Setup, once when our game loads. Bloop, once there. Draw, over and over and over and over and over and over again, every single frame of our game. And if you look, we are drawing the scene inside of that function. So that gives us this power to draw whatever we want, whenever we want it, every frame of our game, like our background, like our goals, like our player, like our HUD. And now, based on mission 5, like our overlays. So we got to make sure we draw the right overlay. Well, we got a function. What was it called? Draw, start, overlay. Okay, so look here. I just started typing, right? And if I move through this list with the arrow keys, here's draw start overlay. I can auto-complete it. And you need 2 parentheses to actually call the function, to actually run the code. So now if I run this, let's just see what happens. That overlay should appear. Hey, look at that. It's sitting over my window. That's super nice. Danger, Corefall, imminent. All right. I think I'm going to get rid of one of the spaces that I got here. I don't like that. Where is it? I got too many spaces here. We'll just put 1 space. All right, so let's see if that maybe looks a little bit better. Yeah, I like that better. Now let's go talk about the RGB alpha strings. I think this is a good time to do it. What color was in our paint bucket here for that? It was overlay BG color. So I'm going to jump way up to the top of my code in my student edit zone and find that color. Overlay background color 0, 0, 0 with a transparency of 0.66. The first thing I'll say is these RGB values are not hex values. So this is not going to be from 0, 0 to FF. If you want all of the red, you're not going to put FF in here like you would in a hexadecimal string. When you're dealing with RGB, it is values from 0 to 255. Remember, FF. Whoa, that's GF. FF is equal to 255 in decimal. So if I want all of the red, I can put 255. And let's just see what this looks like now. Whoa, that's actually kind of cool looking. I sort of like that. Maybe I'll keep that. And if I want some green in there, all the green, I'll put 255. Ooh, I don't like that. That's a little bit too bright. And if I put all the blue in, 255. It gives me white. Now you can see we have this transparency behind it because this last number right here is the alpha channel. The alpha channel is the transparency, and it is a decimal from 0 to 1. If it is set to 1, let's see what happens. Beep, I put it to 1. And I refresh the page. I must have an error somewhere. Where is my error? 0.99. Okay, there we go. It's got to be between 0 and... I can't have 1 there? I'm really surprised by that. Oh, there we go. 1. I must have just not refreshed the page. So I can put a 1 here. And if you look, when it is set to an alpha of 1, a transparency of 1, it means you cannot see behind it at all. It is opaque. If you set the transparency to 0, it means... sometimes you have to click off of the text in order for it to register. There we go. If you set it to 0, it means it is fully transparent. It is completely see-through. Any number in between, like 0.15, we're going to just increase it a little bit. You start to see it, right? If I set it to 0.45, we start to see it. All right. And the same is true if I change these colors back to black. So 0, 0, and 0. We now... That's just me not switching off of it. 0, 0, 0. There we have it. So what was our original transparency? I think it was 0.66. I think I had 0.66 there. All right. Maybe you want to go back to the red. The red looked kind of cool. So that looks pretty good here. So 0, 0, 0, and 0.66. There is my overlay. Now that's just one overlay. So that's looking really great. Let's call my second overlay. So let's go back to mission 5 now. So that was our start overlay. Let's put draw lose overlay because we got a lose overlay too, right? Let's see what happens. Hey, I guess it sort of worked. It's not good, that's for sure. Because look what's happening. We're drawing our game window. Then over that, we're drawing our start overlay. Then over that, we're drawing our lose overlay. It's like these things are just like stacking up one on top of each other. And the reason why that's happening is because it's exactly what we're telling the computer to do. We're saying, draw your background, then your goals, then your player, then your HUD, then your start overlay, and then your lose overlay. The order here with which we draw matters. So watch, if I put, I don't know, let's put this, let's draw the lose overlay before we draw the player. So now you can see the lose overlay got shoved to the back. The start overlay is on the top. The player is sort of sitting over the lose overlay. It's just super duper messy. So what we want to do is we want to draw these overlays only if the game is starting or if the game is over, right? We have lost the game. So we need to ask a question. We got to ask the question, what is the current state of the game? And in order to ask a question, we're going to use an if statement. So if with parentheses, inside of the parentheses, we are going to put a question. I want to say, is the game in start mode? right? And if it is, if the answer to that question is yes, then we will draw the start overlay. So I got to just figure out, how do I ask this actual question? Well, if you remember, we defined a variable, I think it was back in mission 2, called current game mode, where we set its value. We're going to check to see if the value of that is equal to, now get ready for this, 1 equal sign assigns a value. 2 equal signs checks for loose equality. 3 equal signs checks for strict equality. We're going to use 3 to be super strict about this. And we're going to reference our game mode object, and we're going to reference its start property. Now we know that that value is just the string start. I could put it in here, start, and that should work. But we're going to actually reference the property so that if we ever change the property, we don't have to rewrite that code. So game mode dot start. All right, well, what if it's not in the start mode? Well, then we got to ask another question. So I could ask another question here with if, but really, these questions sort of relate to one another. We can say like, hey, is the current game mode start? Do this. If it's not, is the current game mode lose? Do something else. We want to chain these questions together. And when you want to chain questions together, instead of using if, those are like separate questions. We can use else if. So now these questions belong together. And so we'll say, hey, else if, another question. All right, well, what's this other question going to be? Well, we're going to just ask if the current game mode is equal to 3 equal signs, game mode dot lose. And I'm sorry I put all those tabs in there. I can get rid of those now. If it's equal to lose, well then, instead of drawing the start overlay, we're going to draw the lose overlay. So this is now a really nice example of how we can use if, else if statements to have multiple tiers to our questions. Let's run this. Let's see what happens. Hey, our game mode is start, right? That's what it's set to. So it shows the start overlay. Let's change it. Let's go, where did I define that variable? See, current game mode is equal to start. It shows the start overlay. Let's change it to lose. It should show the lose overlay. Hey, really good. And what if I change it to play? It should show no overlay now, right? It should just show the game window. Hey, look at that. I'm really happy with how this overlay system is coming along. We got a little bit more we got to do because we can't just be in here in the code changing these from start to play to lose. We have to dynamically do it as the game is being played. So let's set that back to start, verify that that works. Okay, and so now here we are. What's working about this? What's not working about this? Well, right now, we're in the start mode, and it's telling me I got to press enter to begin. But watch what I can do. I can move my player around. The game is actually being played while we are in the start state. That's not good. We want to only start the game once we press enter. So mission number 6 is going to help us solve that. Because if you remember, we have these built-in P5 functions. Setup runs once whenever we load the game. Bloop, just like that. Draw runs every single frame of the game. And right now, if we look, we're doing 2 things inside of our draw function. We're updating our data, update player, and we're drawing our data, draw scene. But if you look here, we are asking a question. Our question says, if true, update the player. Well, true is always going to evaluate to a yes. So our question is always yes, no matter what is happening. And so what we need to do is we need to target that question and make it a question that is sometimes yes, sometimes no, based on the state of the game. We have to ask the right question. When is it that we want to actually update the player? See, right now, I don't want to update the player. I don't want to update the player when the game is in the start state. I also don't want to be able to update the player when the game is in the lose state. I only want to be able to update the player when the game is in the play state. So that is the question that we have to ask. We're going to say, hey, if current game mode, so again, I just started typing it out, current, and then it popped up here, tab to autocomplete, is equal to 3 equal signs, our game mode object, and we're going to access its play property this time. So now, only if we are in the play state, are we going to be able to update our player? Hey, let's check it out. I'm in the start state. I'm going to hit the keyboard in 3, 2, 1. No movement at all. I'm trying to be really loud with the keyboard too so you can hear it. Nothing's happening. But it tells me press enter to begin. All right, so this is good, right? Now we're officially in our start state. We can't play the game. So I want to hit enter. but I'm stuck in this state forever. Oh no, I have no way to get out of this state yet. So mission number 7 is going to help us transition from the start state to the play state. So let's see where this mission lives. It lives inside of a function called keyPressed. And if you look, that's just below the P5 draw function and the P5 setup function. So remember, these are things that are coming in from the JavaScript library that we imported right here, this P5 library, okay? So we have access to these things. So setup, great. Draw, great. What is keyPressed doing? Well, keyPressed is a simplification of a JavaScript function that is going to register anytime a keyboard button was pressed down for us. Not if it's being held down, if it was pressed, right? So if it went from not being pressed to pressed, we can get that information. And so let's look. We're asking a question inside of this function. It says if key code is equal to enter, meaning did we press the enter key? Well, we're being prompted to press the enter key right here. Okay, so that's good. Then we're asking another question. So if the answer to this question is yes, we are asking a second question. This is known as a nested if statement. If the answer to this question is yes, then there is a follow-up question. The follow-up question says, is the current game mode equal to the start game mode, or is the current game mode equal to the lose game mode? Meaning, we're not currently playing the game, right? We're either in the start menu or the game over screen. If that is the case, what do we need to do? We need to switch from the title or lose screens back into our play mode. Now, we want to switch into playing the game. So that means I'm going to take current game mode, that variable, and I'm going to assign it a new value. A single equal sign assigns a value. And I'm going to say, let's go to our game mode object, and we'll access its play property. So then we will be in the play mode. If I run this, let's check it out. All right, here we are. I hit enter. It should transition because I'm in the start mode. I hit enter, and now I am in play mode. So our overlay screen disappears. But we're going to do one more thing here that's going to be extremely important. When the game starts, or when we've died and we're replaying the game, we want to make sure that we take all of our variables and reset them to our starting values. And the way we do that is we have a function right here called reset game to defaults. And if you look, what's the first thing we're doing? We're targeting the player's X position and Y position and changing them. So right now, if I move along here, I believe I have a hotkey wired up, and that's G for a game over. Yep, so if you see here, I have a hotkey wired up. G simulates a game over and says reactor failure. So if I hit enter to restart, do you see how I started back over here? That's really bad, right? If I died like here and I got a game over, when I hit enter to restart the game, I should be positioned back here. Well, we got to call reset game to defaults in order to do that. So right here, mission number 7, our start transition, we go back into the play state. Before we go back into the play state, let's actually call that function reset game. Oh, and look at that, pops up. I'm going to hit tab to auto complete it and then a set of parentheses. Wonderful. So now if I run this game, all right, start state, I hit enter to transition to the play state. I move around. I hit G to trigger a game over. There's our lose state. When I hit enter now, we're going to reset all of our gameplay variables and my player gets repositioned. And that's exactly what I want. Hey, really great stuff. We just got one last mission, and that's mission number, not 89, mission number 8. We got to go back to the title screen. So we're going to return to the title screen with the press of R. We're going to reset the game and switch it back to the start mode. So if you look here, look at what we're doing. We're asking a question. If false, well, that's always going to be no. So the answer to this is always no. So this is never going to run. But we got to ask the correct question in here. And when we answer this, and when we ask this question and the answer is yes, we're resetting the game back to defaults. Hey, we just did that up here. But then we're changing the current game mode to game mode.start. And so what's the question we want to ask here? Well, it says return to the title screen. This is going to get us to the title screen when we press the R key. So we got to check if the user has pressed down the R key. All right, to ask that question, hey, let's just look a little bit below. We got the debug for our lose screen. To force the lose screen, it says if the key was equal to G or if the key was equal to capital G, and the current game mode was equal to play, then we force them to lose the game. All right, so that worked. So let's just kind of mimic that line here. We're going to say, hey, is the key equal to R, or is the key equal to capital R, in case they got like caps locks on? If that's the case, then we're going to have a way to transition or reset our game right back to our start mode. So with this, our overlay system and our game states are in place. So here's our start mode, right? I can't move around at all. I can't hit G to lose the game and auto game over. I got to hit enter. When I hit enter, I transition to the play state. Now I have a fully playable game. While I'm playing, if I hit R, I should reset and go right back to the title screen. And I do. Here I am. I can't do game over. I can't do reset. I can only hit enter to transition into the play state. And as I play, I die. So I'm going to trigger my game over with the G key. All right, if I hit enter, it's going to reposition me and I'm ready to play again. And we are seamlessly transitioning through multiple states of our game. This is awesome. This is really, really cool stuff. We have a start state, a play state, a lose state, and we can seamlessly transition from one state into the other. The game is aware of where it is at in its game mode operations. I hope you can see how we could easily add to this system. If you make a good system, it's easy to build it out and expand it. We could have a pause state, an inventory state, a level up state to show different overlays to the screen depending on what the user is trying to accomplish. Your imagination could take this wherever you want it to go. But for right now, we will stop here, and I'll see you in the next video.